Kלים, Perek Yud Gimel, Mishnah Aleph. We're halfway through the 4 parokim dealing with Kli Matchis, and this Mishnah is going to be dealing with what happens when you take a Kli Matchis apart, break it. What is the din of the tumah of the pieces if those pieces still have a use, some sort of use? Says the Mishnah, the list of objects here. Hasayof v'hasakin v'hapigyon v'horoimach magal yod magal kotzir v'hashichor v'zug shel saporim shenechleku harelu tmein. These are all forms of knives and blades. And the Mishnah is saying if they break the nechleku, they split, they're tomei. In other words, each bit is still assumed to have an identity of its own. It's still oisin me'ein malachton horishona. They can still do the original use. But before we actually translate here, we have to understand that this list, according to the Mefarshim, actually has 2 parts to it. There's a part A and a part B. According to Rashi, part A is actually the whole list except for Zug Shel Saporim. And Zug Shel Saporim stands on its own. We'll explain it as we go along. What are these objects? Hasayaf is a sword, sakin is a knife. A pigyon is a double-edged, a double-bladed sword or knife. Roimach is a spear. Magal yod, magal kotzir. Magal is a scythe, magal yod is a small hand scythe, magal kos is a huge one used for harvesting. Shichor. Shichor is, according to the derech we're doing, is a razor blade. Zug shel saparim is a pair of scissors. Zug meaning there's two parts to the scissors. That's why it's called the zug. The saparim are the ones used by barbers. Shenech leku tmein. The first lot, from Sayaf till Shichor, means, imagine you have a blade and a handle on one side, and then it just snaps. So now you have a blade, section 1, and section 2 is the blade with a handle. But you've actually got 2 sets of blades. Tanna Kama holds each part, including the one without the handle, is still regarded as a blade, as a knife. It's still oisim me'ein malachton horishono. Because it was once a knife, and now, albeit it's broken, it's still able to have a function, the original function as a knife. Therefore, each piece, by its own, is mekabel tumah. With zug shel saporim, that's a bit different. Here, it's literally shenechleku. In other words, nothing's broken, it's just come apart. You've got the scissors. The scissors has 2 parts to it, which go like that, and the 2 parts come apart. The Tanna Kama holds that they're tomei, and in fact, according to the parish that I'm now going to tell you now, there is no machloikis about Zug Shel Saporim. Rabbi Yossi, the next part of the Mishnah, argues on the first list, does not argue on the Zug Shel Saporim. Let's do the Mishnah again. All that list, when they break and you have 2 sections, one with a handle, one without the handle, the Tanna Kama holds that both parts are tomei. It's on this list that Rabbi Yossi says no. Hasamuch liyad tomei. That broken bit, which is next to the handle, that is tomei because that's just a shorter knife. Vasamuch leroish, the bit which is next to the end of the blade, he holds that's called broken and tahor. On the Zug Shel Saporim, says the Chazon Ish, there is no machlokas at all. Because all that's happened here is that the 2 pieces of the scissors has come apart. True, each one cannot be used as it is. But here we have a different principle. It's not called broken because it's extremely easy to put together again. And when you have something which is hediot, yochel lachzira, anybody can actually put it together again, therefore it's not considered broken, and therefore the pieces are mekabel tumah, not because each piece is a kli on its own, but because it's the whole pair of scissors is not considered to be broken. So Rabbi Yossi is arguing on the whole list except for Zug Shel Saporim. And the Mishnah carries on with the last item called Mesperes Shenech L'Kodesh Shnayim. Mesperes is some sort of tweezer. It's one piece of metal shaped like a horseshoe. I'll try and show you a picture here. Used for cutting. Both ends of this arch have a blade. So it's one piece, and now it's just snapped into two. Each of the pieces still have a sharp edge. Rabbi Huda Metameh v'Chachamim Metarin. The Chachamim Metar, they say this is absolutely broken. The whole point of this object is that it cuts in a pincer movement both together. Therefore, once it's split, it's broken. Rabbi Huda says, since each bit can still cut on its own by being used as a razor, a knife separately without the pincer arrangement, he holds that's not called a shevek li, and therefore each piece follows the same din of the ratio of the Mishnah because they can be used on its own, albeit in a slightly different format. He holds that's not called a shevek li, and the pieces are still tummy. That's Mishnah Aleph.